Hello everyone, welcome back to Tuition Masters. And today we are here with Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution, Session 1 of Grade 9 CBSE History Social Studies. So, this is our first chapter which we discussed about French Revolution of history, and here we are with the second one, which is Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. So this chapter is divided into two parts. First, where we discuss about socialism, as well as the second part of the Russian Revolution. So in today's class, the what are we going to discuss? In today's class, first we'll go through the age of social change, industrial society and social changes, the coming of socialism to Europe, and the support for socialism. So, these four topics we are going to discuss today. So, don't forget to stay tuned till the end of the session. So, let's start with the first topic, which is the age of social change. In the previous chapter, we read about the French Revolution and the powerful ideas of the freedom and equality. How Louis XVI was overthrown by various directories. Then we saw about many new people who ruled the country. Like first was Louis XVI, then came Maximilian Robespierre, correct? Then we saw there was Napoleon Bonaparte, who was defeated in 1815 in Waterloo, correct? So we saw about the main motto of French Revolution was freedom and equality. The French Revolution opened up the possibility of creating a dramatic change in the way which society was structured. Now, nowadays, do you anywhere see in a country there are like first estate, second estate, third estate? Such things are not there right now, correct? But it was there in the previous era, correct? So now it's not there. Now, the 18th century society was broadly divided into estates and orders, and it was the aristocracy and church which controlled the economic and social power. So, in 18th century, what happened? The society was divided into estates, clergy, nobility, peasantry, and all of this, correct? And it was controlled by aristocracies and churches. They control the whole country economically as well as socially. But after the revolution, it seemed possible to change this. In many parts of the world, like Europe, Asia, new ideas about individual rights, liberty, equality started emerging. So, after the French Revolution had occurred, people thought that yes, there is a way there through which we can get our rights. Correct? We get our human rights, we get liberty, equality. If in in France it was possible, why not in our country? Correct? So they thought the possibility. Now, in India, Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Derozio. Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Derozio, these were the two people who discussed about the significance of the French Revolution in India, and others debated the ideas of post-revolutionary Europe. So, what happened in India, Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Derozio, they were discussing about how French Revolution occurred. Then we get to know about liberty, equality. Even our country should get that correct. We learn about that. So, in other places, other debated about the post-revolutionary Europe. Post-revolutionary means after the revolution, how should Europe be designed? Correct. Now, the developments in the colonies in turn reshaped these ideas of societal change. So, people thought that now revolution has taken place. Now, we should make changes in our society as well. We should be socialism, correct? We should have socialism in our country, correct? So, in Europe itself, society was divided into three groups. In the whole Europe, the country was not country, sorry, it was the continent was divided into three groups. What? These were not estates. These were not estates. These were like the three group of people which had different, mindsets. Correct? Who were they? They were liberals, radicals, and conservatives. So now let's study about what was their points. Correct? So first one are the liberals. Liberals wanted to bring a change in the society. They had a secular approach, means a nation which tolerated all religions. They wanted such a nation where it was secular. All the religions were accepted. And they wanted to bring a change also. During that period, European states usually discriminated in favor of one religion or another. Like Britain favored the Church of England, Austria and Spain favored the Catholic Church. So what happened? It's not about the majority. It was that some countries like Britain was mostly favored in Church of England, that religion. Austria, Spain were favoring Catholic Church. Correct. It was not like they were the majority, but the state gave more favor and more, priority to these things. So what did liberals want? That there should be a secular nation where all the religions are equally treated. Liberals oppose the uncontrolled power of dynastic rulers. Dynastic rulers means monarchy. What did they do is that they opposed that we do not want a monarchy. A country should not be monarch because they have uncontrolled power. People can't do anything. They do only what they want. Correct. They wanted to safeguard the rights of individuals against the government. They wanted their fundamental rights. Correct. They wanted their fundamental rights. Okay. Also, they argued for a representative elected parliamentary government. Very important. These were the quite important. What did they want? What did they demand for? Right? We should know that they demanded for a representative elected parliamentary government. They wanted such a government. There should be a parliament. A parliament should be present. It should be elected by whom? It should be elected by the people, correct? And it should represent the people itself, correct? So they wanted such a government. Okay. They also wanted to have an independent judiciary to interpret law, but they were not democrats. So they wanted an independent judiciary, that we should have an independent judiciary who can judge the laws whether it's done properly or not, but they were not democrats. They did not believe in universal adult franchise. What is universal adult franchise? Anyone can, whoever the citizens who were above the age of 18 years can vote. That was a universal adult franchise. Did they believe? No. Liberals said that we don't believe in this. What did they do? Did they open for everyone? No. They said that the holding property mainly should have the right to vote. The people who had property, okay, who had property, okay, and they were men, only these can give a vote. Did they give the women the right of vote? No, they said that women should not get the right of vote because they are made for, they are present only for doing household work. They shouldn't go vote and do political stuff. So they wanted that only property holders and men should go and give their vote. This was the points of the liberals. Next come radicals. Radicals were another group of the people who wanted a change. Common thing, they also wanted a change. They wanted a nation where government was based on majority of country's population. Correct. So they wanted a kind of democratic government. Correct. They wanted democracy where people choose the uh, government. Some of the radicals were in favor of women's suffrage movements also, where movements demanded for voting. So they supported the women's also. Unlike liberals, they opposed privileges of great landowners and wealthy factory owners also. So what happened? They opposed liberals were okay with it, but radicals said that no, no one should be given birth privileges or rights. Like great landowners or factory owners, they shouldn't be given privileges. They favored ownership of private property but were against concentration of wealth in only few hands. So they were like, okay, if you have a private property, if you're owning private property, it's fine. So they were against private property, but what they wanted were, they were not actually against. They were said that okay, if you have private property, it's fine. But the concentration means all the wealth. It shouldn't be in few hands only. It should be equally distributed. That's what they were thinking. So this was about the radicals. Now let's see what did conservatives say. So this group was against radicals and liberals. So they were totally opposites. Alright. Before the French Revolution, they were against any kind of transformation in the society. But after the French Revolution, they had opened the minds to need the change. So what did they say? That before French Revolution they said that no need of any change. They were basically conserving. They were conservatives, right? So they were conserving what? They were conserving the past. So they said that we do not want any change to happen before French Revolution. But after French Revolution also they didn't agree fully. They just said okay, you can bring up some changes, not everything should be changed, only minor changes you can bring. By the 19th century, they realized that some changes were inevitable, means it were important. We have to do those changes. But they were of the opinion that past should be respected and changes should be brought through slow process. So they said that okay, you want changes, okay, it's fine, but so it should be brought through slow processes, right? Now, next is the industrial society and the social change, our second topic for today, right? Now, industrial society and social change, what do we get about? Now, this was the time when the industrialization had occurred, correct? Now, these political trends were a sign of new time. That time was changing. There were now industries. There was a time of profound social and economical changes. They wanted that there should be some social and economic changes as well. It was a time when new cities were coming up and new industrialized regions developed. Railways expanded and the industrial revolution occurred. Correct. So railways were expanding very greatly and the industrial revolution also started. Now, what was the disadvantage of industrialization? In industrialization, men, women, and children, all of them were brought to factories. What was the problem? They had long working hours. Then, less housing. Correct, less housing. Even very minimum wages, these were the problems of industrialization. Long working hours where the wages were quite less and then people had to suffer. Correct, that was the main problem of industrialization. Now liberals and radicals, they searched for solutions to these issues. They said that we should also find some solution to overcome these problems. Now, almost all industries were the property of individuals. Means there were individual people who owned their factories, right? So liberals and radicals themselves were often property owners and employers. So even liberals, radicals, they wanted a solution. Even they were the property owners that time of these factories. Having made their wealth through trade or industrial ventures, they felt that such efforts should be encouraged, which could solve these problems. So, they thought that in our factory and places people are suffering, so it shouldn't be there. They should be encouraged. Correct, there should be encouragement and there should be a way to solve the problems. Now, if freedom of individuals was ensured, if the poor could labor and those with capital could operate without restraint, they believed that societies would develop. So, what they wanted that poor people should come and do the laboring work, means they should work, and those with capital, who had money, they can operate the factories and do the working without any problems. Many working men and women who wanted changes in the world rallied around liberal and radical groups and parties in the early 19th century. So, what the men and women did, they went for, like for a help that liberal radical groups help us, political parties help us in the 19th century early. Some nationalists, liberals, and radicals, they wanted revolutions to put an end to kind of governments established in the Europe in 1815. So what they wanted was that there should be revolutions, so that such kind of government, such kind of laws going on, it should be abolished. They wanted such thing in Europe. Correct. Now, what we are talking about in France, Italy, Germany, and Russia. These four countries, remember, it's very important to remember the country name. It was France, Italy, Germany, and Russia. They became revolutionaries and worked to overthrow the existing monarchs. Nationalists talked of revolutions that would create nations where all citizens would have equal rights. So they wanted that nationalists who were, they wanted to discuss about revolutions where they create their country or their particular state where all the citizens have their equal rights given by the government. After 1815, we have an Italian nationalist, Giuseppe Mazzini. He was conspired with others to achieve this in Italy. So, in Italy, equal rights equal rights and freedom was given with the help of Giuseppe Mazzini. He was a nationalist. Next topic of our today's session is the coming of socialism to Europe. Now we discussed that what were the problems. Now due to these problems, people decided that we should bring socialism. Socialism should be introduced. Correct. Now, how did socialism come? Now, perhaps one of the most far reaching visions of how society should be structured was socialism. What is socialism? A society wherein production by the industries is controlled by the state. So by this government controls the industries and their production. That what socialism meant. Correct. So what happened is socialists were against private property. They didn't want private property, and they saw it as the root of socialism. Means that was the main problem they considered. Correct. According to them, individuals owned the property and gave employment also, but the properties were concerned only with personal profit and not with the welfare of workers. So when there was individual ownership, correct, individual owner, correct, when there was individual ownership of factories and everything, what happened, they used to give employment, but there used to be less wages. Correct. There used to be less wages, more working hours. Correct. There were more working hours. Along with that, they were just worried about their high profits. They just wanted their high profits. It didn't worry about what is happening to the people. We don't care about it. So this was what their mindset was actually during that time. So, if the society as a whole, rather than single individuals, controlled the property, more attention would be paid to collective social interest. And socialists wanted this change and campaigned for it. What did they want? The society, the one property, this one property should not be given to just one person. Correct. It shouldn't be given to one person. No. What they wanted, one whole part should be given to a group. It should be given to a group or the government, so that they can, everyone attention is given to everyone, the workers, wages, everything is handled. So socialists had different visions of the future. Every socialist, different socialist thought different things, correct, and they believed in idea of cooperatives. There should be cooperatives where people are working together and dividing the okay, so let me explain you one with one slide. So see this. So now what did cooperatives do? Now cooperatives means that, for example, this is my industry, it's controlled by five people are controlling it. Now whatever they earn, for example, they are earning $100, correct, they are earning $100. So what they do, they divide this $100 into five people. Correct. Everyone get 20, 20, 20, 20, and 20. So what did they do? Whatever profits they earned, they divided the profits. Correct. They divided the profit among themselves only. This is what the cooperatives were doing. Correct. Now who we have next? Now Robert Owen. Robert Owen, he was a leading English manufacturer who sought to build a cooperative community. So, what did he do? He said that I want to build a cooperative community based on socialist ideas. Correct. So, what did he name the cooperative community? Important. New Harmony in Indiana, which is now USA. So, that's what they wanted, that we should build a cooperative community. So Robert Owen did that. Next, Louis Blanc. Other socialists like Louis Blanc felt that cooperatives could not only build on a wide scale but also through individual initiatives. There should be individuals should also give their attention towards the industries and the people's welfare also. So he demanded that government should encourage cooperatives. Cooperatives is a good idea where people work together and divide the profit. Now, these cooperatives were two associations of people who produced goods together and divided the profits according to the work done by the members. As I said, based on who does the more work, who does the less work, it was equally divided into those people. Now, two more people, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Okay, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. What they did is they jointly wrote the book Communist Manifesto and added other ideas to this body of arguments. Karl Marx argued that society was capitalist. Capitalist means that only worried about profits. They want capital. The capital, people who have capital are only the leadings. Correct? That's what their thinking was about the society. Capitalists owned the capital invested in the factories and the profit was produced by workers. They gave the money, but all the profit was given to the people who made the who were the capitalists, right? The conditions of worker could not improve as long as this profit was accumulated by private capitalists. So, for example, the workers the workers made the profit of, for example, $20. Correct, that was a just an example, it was always more than that. So that whole $20 goes to the capitalist. It went to the capitalist who gave the money for the factory, all the profit. So where workers had been suffering, workers overthrew capitalism now, and the rule of private property, that no, we will not suffer, we are overthrowing this capitalism, we don't want capitalism, and there shouldn't be private property also. Karl Marx believed that to free themselves from capitalist exploitations, workers had to construct a radically socialist society where all property was socially controlled. So, Karl Marx says that if you want to remove this capitalist exploitation, you have to build a radical society where everything is socialist and everything is socially controlled. The property is not private, it's worked by everyone, it should be cooperative. This would be a communist society. He was convinced that workers would triumph in their conflict with capitalists. A communist society would be the natural society of the future. Means that would be the technically the main society which will go for the future. Last topic for today, through which we complete socialism, is the support for socialism. How and what ways was socialism in Europe supported? So we just have two slides and we are completed. By the 1870s, socialist ideas spread throughout the Europe. Okay, one of the most important events in the history of socialist movement was the formation of International Men's Association. What was it? International Men's Association. What was it named as? First International in the 1864. So what happened is, socialist the what the socialist people said, that they gave out the ideas of socialism throughout the Europe. Correct. What happened? One of the socialist movement, what was it? The men formed the International Men's Association, which was also called as the First International in 1864. Now, to unite the socialist parties in various countries into an international organization, a congress was held in Paris on 14th July 1889, which was known as the Second International. Now, what happened is this first international was not for whole world around the globe. No, they wanted that all the socialist parties to come together and work as one single organization. So that happened on 14th July 1889, which was known as the Second International. Now, when the Second International was born, there was a mark of a new stage of history in socialism. Now, workers. There were a few things introduced, for example, the SPD and the Labour Party. So, what were they? Workers in England and Germany began forming associations to fight for their rights. In England and Germany, they said that we want our rights. So, what did they do? In Germany, what happened? The Workers' Association worked closely with the Socialist Democratic Party, that is the SDP or SPD, correct, Socialist Democratic Party, and it helped it in winning the parliamentary seats where the workers were given their working rights in Germany. Now, by 1905, the Socialist and Trade Unionists formed a Labour Party where in Britain and a Socialist Party in France also. But till 1914, they never succeeded in forming a government in Europe. But SPD could win the parliamentary seats, but these didn't form a government in the Europe. So, thank you so much, students, for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check down the description for the PDF of this session. In the next session, we will be discussing about the French Revolution and what were the important moments. I'll be seeing you in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.